I didn't see myself having an interest in anything else when it came to actually working in corporate. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Veronia, and today I want to talk about the fact that I have quit my 9-to-5 corporate job, as you may have seen in the title. Yeah, honestly, this is probably going to be quite a raw video, and I really just kind of wanted to talk through my experience. I wanted to talk through, the reasons why I actually quit my corporate job, and also my story as well. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, then I did say that there were some changes going on, and this is pretty much the change. And I got you guys to actually guess, what you think was happening. So someone actually guessed that I would be reducing my hours, and I would say that was probably the closest to it, but obviously I have actually fully quit my job. And yeah, I just kind of want to use this video to really explain why. Now, before I do get started, I did want to just throw in a quick disclaimer in that this is really based on my own personal story and my own personal circumstances, as well as my husband's, of course. So it's something that, I have been really thinking about for a while. It's not something that I literally just decided just to quit my job there and then. No, it's definitely not like that. But I just really wanted to let you guys know that, we are in a privileged position that I have been able to do this, and not many people will be, but I did want to just really share my experiences and also share, why I've actually quit my 9-to-5 corporate job. So with that out of the way, I kind of just want to have a chat with you guys and explain why I've actually made this decision in the first place. So just to give you guys a bit of context, basically how I started with like my career story is that I basically went to university, and then I was struggling to find a graduate job. So I actually decided to go into recruitment, and then got made redundant in recruitment, and then actually ended up deciding that I was going to go and do my master's in human resource management, because I thought that that might be a good career option to kind of go into. And I do explain that in a bit more detail in terms of my own career story, so definitely check that video out if you haven't already. I will link that up here for you and in the description below. But essentially, after I did my master's, I then ended up getting a graduate job. I actually applied for a graduate scheme, didn't get into a graduate scheme, but I got into an entry-level job just because I had some recruitment experience, and obviously I had my master's. And so I basically worked in that same company, and it's now been about 3 years. And so I have basically now left the company and have potentially left the 9-to-5 corporate life too. Now, you may have actually heard about the Great Resignation. So a lot of people have recently been really quitting their jobs, and it's for particular reasons. A lot of people have maybe felt burnt out. Maybe they've realized that the industry that they're currently working in isn't for them, or maybe they just actually want to quit the whole 9-to-5 corporate life altogether. And so a lot of changes have been going on, and a big catalyst from that has been because of the pandemic, and obviously a lot of people have been working from home, and there's just been a lot of obviously changes that have been going on, which you are probably aware of. Now, when it comes to my own personal situation, in terms of where I was working, I actually ended up being furloughed. And so during that period, so during the pandemic when I was furloughed, I obviously wasn't working, and at that point I really had the opportunity to start working on different personal projects myself, and actually start learning about things that I potentially maybe didn't necessarily have time for before the pandemic actually started. And so during the time that I was furloughed, I ended up actually starting this YouTube channel. I was really passionate about personal finance. A lot of you guys will know that I started off being in about £16,000 worth of debt, which is around $22,000 worth of debt, and I had basically paid that off in about 18 months. And I was also starting to work towards, building an emergency fund and starting to invest for financial independence. And so that's why I decided to do this YouTube channel, because I felt like it was God telling me that it's now my time to actually share my experiences and get people to actually work on their own personal finances, just like I have done with mine. And if you're liking this video so far, then please do give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel, plus it's free. So now we fast forward to about 2021, and this is really where things started to change. So originally I did not actually plan to quit my job. So this time last year, I did not plan to quit my job. I basically planned to have like my YouTube channel as just like maybe a side hustle that I can be earning money on the side. And then I actually really wanted to focus on getting a promotion at my work. And so in 2020, that was pretty much my mindset. That's all I was thinking about. But it got to a point where I would say in the beginning of 2021, I just kind of started to see things differently. And it wasn't only just based on, me doing this YouTube channel, but I was starting to see things, I don't know, in a different light. And I felt like I maybe had a different calling, and I felt like I was starting to make a bigger impact, particularly when it comes to my YouTube channel. But then also at the same time, I had also started coaching as well. And so I was coaching women on their own personal finances and actually helping them, start spending intentionally, being able to actually save more money and have more of a purposeful budget, and then also starting to invest their money as well. And so when I started working with women and actually seeing their results and transformations, I kind of almost thought, okay, this is something that I feel like I'm really being drawn to. And at the same time, when it came to my 9-to-5 job, I didn't necessarily feel like I was making as much of an impact, and I don't know, maybe I just didn't feel as engaged, I would say, particularly because, like in the industry that we're at, there was a lot of long hours and there were just a lot of changes going on. And so I felt very much pulled to actually serving people and actually coaching women as well. And I don't know, just kind of seeing their own results, whereas particularly getting women to actually have their own budget where they don't feel guilty when it comes to spending. And one of the women I was working with, she was saving more than 20% when she was working with me. And then I also had another woman where she was not very confident when it came to her personal finances when we first spoke, but then when I actually started coaching her, she's now got to the point where she's already investing her money consistently, and she had never ever invested her money before. And so when I was starting to see these transformations with these women, I was thinking, okay, this is something where I feel like I really enjoy it, and I feel like I'm making an impact and I'm getting monetized for this. Is this something that I could potentially think about doing in the future? And by the way, if you are a woman and you're maybe looking for similar results in that you want to really be able to take control of your finances but also accelerate it as well, then you can definitely check out my coaching program. I will leave it in the description below, as I'm currently holding a wait list. Now, at the same time, during 2021, I had quite a lot of big life changes. So I had actually moved out of my parents' house because I was also getting married, and so I got married to my husband this year, and so that was a big life change. And then also at the same time, I actually also started serving at my church in terms of actually helping people with their personal finances. So I was already serving at my church on Sundays, I was an usher, but then also we had introduced something in our church where we were helping people with their own personal finances, and I decided that I really wanted to help out with that as well. And so there were just a lot of things that I realized were really going on, especially once I'd been married, because obviously I had my 9-to-5 job, but then I was also serving at my church. I was also helping my church with personal finances. Then I had this YouTube channel, and then I was coaching, and of course I was also married as well. So I felt like there were just a lot of things going on. And on top of that, obviously you've got to think about, I had just become a wife, and you've obviously got things like household chores and family and things like that. So there was just a lot of stuff that was happening, and it just felt like I was kind of being pulled in different directions. And I don't know, I just got to a point where I just kind of felt like I was pretty much being like a headless chicken, in that I was always busy and there was always something going on. Because if I wasn't doing my 9-to-5 job, I was obviously coaching, and if I wasn't coaching, I was doing my YouTube channel, and if I wasn't doing my YouTube channel, I was serving at church. And it just felt like there was a lot going on, and I wasn't necessarily in the present moment. And I think if anything, like this pandemic has really shown me, is that you really have to appreciate the life that you currently have. And I just kind of felt like I wasn't really appreciating my life because I just kind of felt like I was being pulled in all of these different directions, to be honest. And so with all of this going on, I really started researching about actually thinking, is this something that I want to continuously be doing full time? Is it just because of the season that I'm in? At the same time, I was really thinking about actually increasing my income as well. That's something in particular that I wanted to do this year, particularly with my job, because that's the way I thought I wanted to go originally last year. And so when it came to my actual job, the only reason why I would have gone for a promotion was literally just because of the increase in income. And I'm not even going to lie to you, that was at the point that I was at, because I didn't see myself having an interest in anything else when it came to actually working in corporate. And I will actually say that, a big reason why I was working towards things like financial independence and also that time freedom is because I did not really see myself actually working in corporate for the rest of my life. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because I was at the point where I was seeing, all of these directors working these long hours, not really being able to see, their children as much because they were working these long hours, because they were getting paid well, but they were still, a lot of them were still essentially living paycheck to paycheck. And I didn't want that life for myself. I actually wanted to have that time freedom. And so I decided actually I want to take a different route, and I actually want to start working towards financial independence so that I can have that time freedom, not only to be able to focus on things that I really want to do, but also to be able to have time to really spend with my family as well. Now, if you have no idea how to even start working towards things like financial independence, then definitely check out my free guide, because these are the steps that I have taken to really start working towards financial independence, and it's something that I also work through with my coaching clients as well. So if you haven't checked that out already, I will of course link that up here for you and in the description below. And so all of these things were just kind of happening in my head, and I think the pandemic really accelerated it, because even though there was a period of time where I was furloughed, I appreciated that time so much because I was able to work on myself. I was able to work on my health a lot more. I was able to work on my spirituality a lot more, and I was able to work on my personal finances a lot more, because obviously I was saving money at the same time, but I was also educating myself even more because I finally had a lot more time to do it. And so it got to the point where probably at the beginning of this year, this is when I started to think, actually, is this a life that I want to be doing at this point in time? Is this something that I really want to be doing long term? And for me, the answer was probably no. And a big reason for that is because, again, I felt like I had made a bigger impact just with the audience that I currently have, whether it be my YouTube videos, whether it be coaching women as well. I felt like I was being pulled into that direction. But then at the same time, I was almost kind of like, oh, but I'm still working towards financial independence. We kind of have a clear plan. So I was kind of in two different crossroads, and I kind of felt like, okay, maybe, you know, I should actually be really trying to work towards getting a promotion, because at that point in time, the job that I was doing, I was basically overextended, and I was basically doing a lot more responsibilities than they were actually paying me for. And so it was getting to a point where I was like, you either need to increase my pay, I get a promotion, or I leave and go to another job. That was literally in my mind. And so there was a promotion that my company wanted me to go for, and it was something that I wasn't really interested in, just because I felt like I was going to have to work long hours, meaning that I wouldn't have enough time for my own side hustle, so things that I actually personally wanted to do, and obviously it would make me even more busy. And so I was really kind of questioning it, but I decided to just go for the promotion anyway. I went for the promotion, and I didn't actually end up getting it in the first place because they said I didn't have enough experience. So I was like, okay, now I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Because I thought that I should be, you know, going for this promotion so that I can increase my income so that we can reach financial independence, and I didn't get that promotion. Then I was kind of almost like to the point where I had to really sort of ask God and just say, you know, if I'm not going for a promotion, what should I be doing now? Because there needs to be a change, something needs to happen. You know, at the moment, I'm not necessarily very happy, and there's just a lot going on. And so it almost got to a point where I kind of felt like God was telling me I need to think about, what do I value the most at this point in time? What do I value the most? And so obviously big things that I valued was the fact that I was actually serving at my church, because that's something that I really wanted to do. But then also, when it came to my YouTube channel and when it came to coaching clients, I almost felt like I had a calling there as well. And then at the same time, obviously, when it comes to my marriage, that's really, really important as well. And it's something that obviously I'm really committed to. And it's not like I'm going to just say I'm not going to be married anymore. And so after those three, obviously my 9-to-5 job basically came last. And so with that, I just kind of thought, okay, if my 9-to-5 job isn't something that I'm really passionate about, I don't really necessarily, it's not that I don't care about it, but essentially the job is for me to have that consistent paycheck, then is that something that I really truly desire and need to have right now? And so I basically just kind of listed my priorities and figured out, you know, what do I value most? And obviously I could see that my 9-to-5 job isn't just something that I really valued the most. Just at this point in time, it's just something that I wasn't necessarily interested in during the present, but then also for the long term as well. And so I kind of thought, okay, obviously there's something that needs to give, because I can't really be running around like a headless chicken anymore. I can't lie, I'm getting tired, I'm getting burnt out. So what do I need to change? And ultimately it felt like God was basically telling me, well, obviously your job. So this is something that I had basically been thinking about the whole of 2021, I would say, probably over the past 8-9 months, I would say this is something that has kind of been on my mind. And so I thought, when it comes to actually quitting my 9-to-5 corporate job, what's the biggest obstacle that would probably stop me from quitting my job? And a lot of people will say that it's actually your personal finances, but in our case, it wasn't the personal finances. In my case, it was actually my mindset. And the reason why I say that is because I was so worried about maybe how it would look if I quit my job, or, you know, what it would feel like if I quit my job, and you know, the kind of questions that people would be asking me. But at the end of the day, this is based on, again, my own personal situation and just how I'm feeling as well, and of course my husband as well. And so when I really sort of started to stack things up, and again, when we were looking at things from a personal finance perspective, it wasn't actually necessarily that bad. And let me tell you why. So when it comes to personal finances, I definitely think that we are in a very privileged position in that we are pretty much financially secure. So if you guys know my story, you know that I've gone from, you know, having a whole load of debt to paying that off in 18 months to saving over 70% of my income to then saving over 40% of my income when we actually moved in and got married. So with that, if you guys didn't know, we actually combined our finances when we got married this year, and I have a video that talks about actually joining finances as well. If you haven't watched that already, I will link that up here for you and in the description below. But essentially what that meant is that because we combined our finances, we were able to save and invest a lot more. Now, I'm going to be the first to tell you guys that we do not earn big bucks. If you are subscribed to my channel, you probably have seen our budgeting videos. We do not earn big bucks at all, okay? So we have just been able to really focus on our personal finances in that we do not have a lot of costs when it comes to our actual lifestyle. And so essentially what had been happening is that we were almost basically living on one person's income anyway, and we were saving and investing the rest. And so what that means is that even if I lost my income and I didn't really have anything coming in at all, we could basically still have a very, very similar lifestyle, just living on my husband's income. And so once I realized that, that's when I kind of thought, okay, I don't really have an excuse. Now, as well as that, we also have an emergency fund as well. And also we do have a lot of capital because we are saving up for a property so that we can rent that out. And so what that essentially means is that with the cash we currently have, even if I didn't have any income coming in and my husband completely lost his job and he didn't have any income coming in, we could pretty much at least survive for at least a year, I would say, before we would end up having to actually still make money. And so because of that, again, I was kind of almost like, okay, from a personal finance perspective, I really don't have an excuse here, because we have done so well to actually be able to control our finances in that we do actually have a lot of money to live on just in case, you know, anything happened. And so what that meant is that although we wouldn't be able to save and invest as much, obviously because if I'm not getting much income coming in, we can't save and invest as much, but what we are able to do is I'm actually able to invest my time. And so what I realized is that obviously I'm in my mid-20s, we don't currently have a mortgage on this place, so we rent this place, and we also don't have kids. And so what I really asked myself is, what is my biggest asset at the moment? And I realized that my biggest asset wasn't actually money, my biggest asset is time. And so because of that, could I potentially take advantage where I'm really thinking about, you know, not only being able to serve and give to others, but then also at the same time actually build a potential business? Is that something I could potentially take advantage of? And obviously if I'm actually really able to succeed in my business, then I would have pretty much made my investment back maybe tenfold. And so those are some of the questions I really asked myself, and then realized, hold on, this is probably the best time for me to take advantage of this, just because of the current circumstances that we're at, in that we're quite secure with our finances, but also because we can afford to take that risk at this point in time as well. So in terms of my key learnings, because I feel like I've been talking for ages, I would say that, you know, I'm basically in a position where we are essentially financially secure, but we can also afford to take risks just based on the current season that we're at. And so for me, I kind of just felt like I really didn't have an excuse not to take this risk because of just where we're currently at and what we've been able to do with our personal finances as well. Now, really being aware that I did not just sit down and just decide, oh, I'm just going to quit my job and then that's it. I had been side hustling for almost 18 months before I decided to do this. And also, again, we're at the point where we can afford to maybe not have as much income coming in for the next couple of months, and that won't actually affect our lifestyle. The only thing is that we won't be able to save and invest as much, but again, at the same time, we'll be able to actually invest a lot more time. And I do think that actually if I'm able to just slow down a bit, really live in the present, and also enjoy things like actually starting up my business properly, that I can potentially really end up reaping those rewards later on in the long term. And yes, that might mean that in terms of our investments, it might be delayed a bit longer in terms of actually buying a property, for example, and actually investing in the stock market. But actually at the same time, if I'm able to again invest my time where my business is actually able to generate a lot more money than my current 9-to-5 job, then we can of course use that cash flow from the business to then invest in properties and also invest in stocks as well. And so for me, I feel like it's kind of a win-win situation, but it does mean that obviously I had to take a certain element of risk. And in my case, I decided that actually I'm going to risk risk not having a 9-to-5 job for a while so that I can really focus on giving my time to not only building my business, but also at the same time just really taking time for myself, and also still really being able to enjoy my marriage and then also serve at my church as well, because I do really enjoy doing that. So I feel like I've really spoken for quite a long time, and I don't really know how long this video is going to be. I mean, I have been thinking of doing a video where I talk about what it's like actually quitting my job and what's life like after the 9-to-5. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, definitely let me know in the comment section below. I'm happy to have a conversation around that. But if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, have you ever thought about quitting your 9-to-5 corporate job? I do post every Tuesday and Friday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on Friday.